folks have asked me how much it costs to get a pilot's license nowadays. It's, cost isn't the only consideration. You want quality training, you want well-maintained aircraft, but if you can find a cheap flying club near you, you really can get a license for remarkably cheap when you consider the fact that the license lasts your entire lifetime and will let you explore parts of the country you'd never be able to otherwise. There are some ways that you can minimize the cost of getting a pilot's license. I'm fortunate that where I live, there is a flying club. Flying clubs are great. They are basically a way for many people to come together and share the fixed costs that are associated with operating an aircraft. Hangar space, maintenance, insurance, all of it can be pooled so that each person pays a smaller fraction of that for the airplane. Obviously then you are sharing a plane, so you might not be able to find one available. It's important to see how often aircraft are available in your flying club. If there's a lot of members and only a few aircraft, you might not be able to fly when you want. My flying club has a good balance, 5 airplanes and about 100 members. And for the most part, I have an airplane whenever I want it. There's only been a few times that I've had to adjust my plans because there's no aircraft available. Flying clubs also give you an opportunity to be social with others who are interested in aviation. And, you can learn from the other members tips about flying in your area. If you want to find a flying club near you, if you look online, there's a flying club locator on AOPA's website. Each flying club's a little bit different. Some flying clubs charge a higher premium to get in, $4,000 or $5,000 or more, to get a share in the club. That amount is often reimbursable upon your exit of the flying club. Sometimes you have to find someone to buy your share, but oftentimes the club will just buy your share from you when it's time to go. Other flying clubs like mine had a lower entry cost. I only had to pay $600 to join my flying club, but then my monthly fee might be a little bit higher than others. I pay about $60 per month whether I fly or not. The flying club then charges me per hour, per rental hour in this aircraft. It's important to look and see if they're charging per Hobbs hour or per tack hour. They're a little different. Tack hour is calculated based on how many revolutions the engine makes. So finding a place that charges per tack hour is actually cheaper. So this airplane I'm in is $130 per tack hour for the Cessna 172. But typically when I'm flying in the pattern, it comes out to about $80 per actual hour because I'm not flying the engine as hard during training. Another thing to consider is whether or not you're going to use a flight school. So flight schools are typically more expensive, more regimented. A lot of the folks who are going into aviation for a career will use a flight school, and it's more expensive. But oftentimes you get what you pay for. You can also go outside of flight schools, find an aircraft that you can rent from an individual or company or flying club, and then you find a flight instructor and you pay them per hour. The amount flight instructors charge varies widely. I pay my flight instructor about $50 per hour. Out west, I've heard of places that charge much more than that. Another important thing to consider when you're trying to decide how much pilot's license will cost you is how much training you have to do. The minimum requirement for a pilot's license is 40 hours, but most people end up with more than that. I think oftentimes over 70 hours in training. The way that you can streamline that number and reduce your cost is by being well prepared, by staying up to date in your studies, making sure you prepare for each flight lesson with your instructor. If you know the stuff before you get in the airplane, then you can save a lot of money by not having to go over things over and over. Another way that you can save money is by coming to the airport and practicing without the engine on. Practicing emergency procedures, practicing in your mind what you'd be doing under various circumstances. It's absolutely free if you're not, running the engine. You can also use a flight simulator. Flight simulator gives you time to practice procedures and think about how you're going to handle things in various situations. And it's, again, either completely free or very inexpensive compared to actually flying an aircraft. Of course, you could always buy an aircraft. You can find a good trainer aircraft for perhaps $15,000 or $20,000 or more for a 4-seater. I'm fortunate enough to do my training in a Cessna 172. It has all the attributes that I would desire in a good training aircraft. There are several other common aircraft that you can train in. You'll see Diamond DA-40s. You'll see Pipers. This is a Piper over here. I like Cessnas. You're able to look straight down at the ground. The wing on top also can protect you from the sun on a hot day. And they're pretty docile when it comes to handling. They have a good established safety record. Georgetown, Scott County traffic, Cessna 6202 Foxtrot's left downwind runway 3. So how much does a pilot's license cost? Well, on average, I think it costs about $10,000. Mine will probably cost closer to $5,000 or $6,000 because I'm fortunate to have a cheap flying club in my area. And if you go through a flying school, it may be much more than that. When you're paying for a professional grade training, you probably could expect to pay between $10,000 and $20,000 for your pilot's license. Now, I think that's a real bargain when you consider the fact that this pilot's license will last for your entire life, and it gives you opportunities to explore parts of the country and the world that you'd never be able to otherwise.